What is up, y'all? It's me, Tasha C, and welcome to the Tasha C Show podcast. Shout out to my podcast and YouTube fam who have been listening and or watching my videos or listening to my podcast. If you're a part of my podcast fam, or you are listening for the first time and you like what you're hearing and listening to, and you're wondering about this YouTube channel, go to YouTube and put in the search Tasha C TV. Don't forget that part. And vice versa for my YouTube fam. Or if it's your first time, or you listen to a couple of videos, listen and watch, and you're like, okay, you know what about this podcast? Go ahead in the description, and should include all the podcast platforms I'm using, including Speaker, for this podcast. Also, tonight is another day. If y'all, okay, it's your first time listening, whatever. I usually have a separate podcast where I talk about everything from, it could be story times, ranting about entertainment, so forth, including, which I just made a whole year podcast, not a podcast series, I mean, at least there was a lot of podcasts, a 1 year YouTube series called my 366 days video journey. So it's basically, I made a video starting on my birthday last year and planning on this year, which is October the 8th. So that's what it is. So yesterday was a day where I didn't make any video at all. And originally I was going to come back and do this. Even though there's still going to be Black History facts, I'm going to go ahead and make this again. I don't know how many more days I'm going to do this. I mean, it's no set rules. Because, like I said, it's just basically making a video per day. So this is day 129 out of my video journey. And I decided to just go ahead and just focus on just making one podcast / one video tonight, which is our Kings and Queens Next Door, and this is volume 13, day 13. But I wanted to say hugs and loves, like I said again, and I appreciate all the support and the support that I'm getting in the future. And like I said, it's just, I'm not slipping whatever, but I don't know how long I'm going to do this in terms of just making only one podcast show. But today, y'all, sorry again if some of y'all were waiting for a separate, one that sometimes where I have entertainment and other stuff, whatever. Today, again, is just going to be nothing but history facts. So anyway, just to listen, just let y'all know, I'll be tearing up words. And if for people also who are new here, I get my facts just by Googling or, in certain websites, or also going to Instagram and going to certain pages where they have Black History facts, or finding them through other people's or businesses pages that I follow that actually have Black History facts on their pages, especially due to the fact this is Black History Month. So y'all, this usually is not as long as my usual podcast. I know, sorry, I've been rambling on, but I just, like I said, I wanted to say that because some people who may be listening, I mean, I appreciate you, have been listening to previous podcasts before, say, listening to this one. But, some people who may listen to, say, the ones that are based on Black history may not listen to the other podcasts I usually do or watch other videos that I have, besides, about the subject. So, again, we're back on Instagram, and that's where I'm going to start first with Black History. Again, on Black History, they actually have a description about the persons or event and have a picture usually, and sometimes a date and so forth. So I'm just going to say, so for this person here, Freddie Washington, it shows photographed by Carl Van Vinchen, December 8th, 1938, 80 years ago today. Okay. Frederica Carolyn Freddie Washington was an African-American actress best known for her role as Peola in the 1934 version of the film Imitation of Life. Okay, excuse me, y'all. The reason why I was shocked about that, because if y'all remember the movie Imitation of Life, they actually had a white actress play the role of, say, the girl who looked racially ambiguous in the movie. Go see the movie. It's a classic movie. I think I had to sit for high school, but that's we understand. But I didn't even know that they actually had a black actress that actually played the role that was supposed to be of a, you know, lighter, racially ambiguous child. I mean, woman. I mean, it started off as a child. She started out as a child, but it's just that I didn't notice. But let me continue. Sorry, y'all. Sometimes I make comments in between when I'm reading these facts. Washington turned out a number of chances to pass for White as an actress, which might have led to a greater acting opportunities. Her light complexion and green eyes led directors to choose darker-skinned actresses for the stereotypical maid roles. She wanted to form a more complicated, versatile roles. Frustrated, she quit acting and focused on her efforts on several whites. You see, I'm a mighty proud gal, and I can't for the life of me find any valid reason why anyone would lie about their origin or anything else for that matter. Frankly, I do not ascribe to the stupid theory of white supremacy and uh, and to try to hide the fact that I am a Negro for economic or any other reasons. If I do, I would be agreeing that to be a Negro makes me inferior, and that I have swallowed a whole hog of the propaganda dished out by our fascist-minded white citizens. I am an American citizen, and by God, we have the inalienable rights, and whenever those rights are tampered with, there is nothing left to do but fight. And I fight. How many people do you think there are in this country who do not have mixed blood? There are very few, if any, and what makes us who we are in our culture and experience. No matter how white I look, on the inside I feel black. There are many whites who are mixed blood, but still go by white. Why is it such a big deal if I go as Negro? Because people can't believe that I'm proud to be a Negro, not white. I prove that I don't buy into white superiority. I choose to be Negro, Ferry, Washington. And that's the information about her. Oh, okay. It's amazing reading some of the stuff that gems, all the stuff you don't know about, and so forth. Okay, here's another one that I have on oh, okay. Watch premiere for free. Oh, sorry, that's Cherish Today, this series. I know that's off of that. Directed by Ava DuVar on OWN channel. If you're able to watch that, as well, it's a black, I think, a love story as well. So it just premiered Tuesday night, but I think and they had a second day premiere yesterday. But I think it's always supposed to come on Wednesday. I think maybe like at 8 or 9 p.m. So look at your TV guides or wherever else streaming service is able to find that. Okay. All right, again, on Black History, Henry Armstrong, photographed by Carl Van Vention. I wonder if they have anything. Did I read anything about that person? Photographer, a second time that person's name. I swear that name rings a bell. Anyway, he was born Henry Jackson Jr. on this day, December 12, 1912, in Columbus, Mississippi. In 1938, became the first boxer to hold 3 titles simultaneously after winning the boxing lightweight championship. In 1937, Armstrong became the featherweight champion after knocking out Petty Sarin. The next year, he moved up 2 weight classes and in May took the welterweight title from Barney Ross. A few months later, he shipped down to the lightweight category. His August 38 win against Lou Ambers gave Armstrong a lightweight crown and made the first boxer to hold 3 different weight division titles at the same time. At the end of 1938, Armstrong chose not to defend the featherweight title. He lost the lightweight title in 1939. Armstrong tried to become the middleweight champion in March of 1940, but the match ended in a draw. Many observers believe that he had been robbed by the decision. Armstrong successfully defended his welterweight crown multiple times, but on October 4th, 1940, defeat by Fredzy Zibik saw him lose that title as well. Although he had more wins in his career, including one against Civic in 1942, Armstrong would never again hold a championship title. Wow. Okay. Here's an event, again, where they're talking about the pictures. Still Black History. Black History is a lot of stuff. I went in their archives, like in their early, like, post. When did they start posting? Like, since December 2018, that I start getting some of these photos. Okay. Here's a picture with showings like people you could tell that's on a plantation, slaves on a South Carolina plantation, planting sweet potatoes, Sarah, 1982. Fast forward to December 19, 1865. Following the Civil War and emancipation, many free black people in the South remained beholden to their former white masters. In South Carolina and other former slave-holding states, many free people continue to reside in the same community, sometimes on the same land, working for whites who had previously purported to own the men, women, children as property. Free men had limited resources to earn money to support themselves and their families, and often continue to work as manual laborers in slavery-like conditions. In many ways, black codes enact following emancipation sought to maintain white control over free men and perpetrated the exploitation black people and had experienced during slavery. South Carolina's black codes, like others, contain many laws that apply only to black people. One measure restored free blacks a substantial social relationship to white landowners, stating that all persons of color who make contracts for service or labor should be known as servants, and those who with whom they contract shall be known as masters. The law required black quote servants to work from dawn to dusk and to maintain a polite demeanor. South Carolina reached even further into black laborers' personal lives, prohibiting apprentices to marry without their master's permission, forbidding farmers living on their master's land to have visitors, and imposing a curfew. That's just still slavery, pretty much. Another black code sought to restrict the upward mobility of the black community by forbidding free men in South Carolina from pursuing an occupation other than labor unless able to pay $100 fee. Okay, next. Okay. Here's another one. Okay. This was similar to 20. Okay. Here's a picture of the day of outrage demonstration at the J. This is still Black History page, by the way. At the J Street Borough Hall subway station following the Howard Beach verdict on December the 21st, 1987. So this was not too long ago. Okay. All right. Protesters are standing on the tracks, one of several stations and tunnels blocked, grounding traffic to a halt. A year prior, on December 20, 1986, 23-year-old Michael Griffin and friends, Cedric Satterford and Timothy Grimes, were traveling to Queens in New York. When the car broke down in Harbor Beach, a predominantly white, middle-class Queens neighborhood, the three young black men walked to a local restaurant and asked to use the phone. They were refused and sat down at a table where they were soon confronted by a group of white teenagers. I don't know where's this going. After a brief verbal altercation, the white teens left to attend a party where one announced there's some N-words in the pizza parlor. Let's go kill them. When Griffin, Satterford, and Grimes exited the restaurant soon after, the white teens returned with baseball bats and tree limbs. Grimes ran fast enough to escape the attack, but Griffin and Satterford were brutally beaten. Fleeing the blows, Griffin ran into traffic on the busy belt highway and was struck and killed by a car. The attack against Sanford continued even as Griffin lay dying. When Queens District Attorney John Sanchucci charged the three teens responsible for Griffin's death with the reckless endangerment, he was accused of misconduct removed from the case. New York Governor Mario Cuomo then appointed Special Prosecutor Charles Hines to investigate the murder. Scott Kern, Jason Lardorn, and John Lester were convicted in the attack. Judge Thomas Merkel sentenced Kern to 6 to 8 years imprisonment. Jason Letter to 5 to 15 years, and John Lester accused the investigator to 10 to 30 years. While passing out his rules, Judge DeMarcos asked, "What kind of individual do I have before me, who, after witnessing young black get crushed by a car, continues his reckless conduct by savagely beating another black male with a bat?" Oh, gosh. Just a mess, y'all. Some of this stuff, it seems like you got to take a break. Sometimes just reading this stuff. But you can't erase what happened, Oh, gosh. Okay. Here's another one again that's on Black History. Majority, I'm just letting y'all know, is on Black History. 2 black ministers who were active on the long boycott segregated buses in Montgomery, Alabama, were among the first to ride after their Supreme Court integration order went into effect on December 21st, 1956. At left front seat is Reverend. This is the picture. Reverend Ralph Aberney, while at the left in the second seat is Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. Beside King is a white minister, Reverend Glenn Smiley of New York, who said he was in Montgomery as an observer. The woman is unidentified. The U.S. Supreme Court upheld a lower court ruling that the bus segregation laws violate the 14th Amendment and ordered the city to integrate the bus system. No longer was it necessary for blacks to sit at the back of the bus or give up their seat to a white passenger. Integration was not to follow a smooth road. However, there was violence in the years ahead in the struggle for greater equality. And unfortunately, in some cases, it still runs to this day. Here again, if y'all seen this picture, you see a bunch of Ku Klux Klans sitting there with their hoods on and a burning cross in the background. Okay? Let me read this. This is on Black History still. Thousands of Klansmen gathered in 1921 as an initiation ceremony on a farm near Lake Zurich, owned by Charles Wingman, who had owned the Chicago clubs. The procession began in Chicago's Albany Park neighborhood. On December 24th, 1865, a group of former Confederate soldiers established what would be the first chapter of the Ku Klux Klan, or the KKK, in Paluxy, Tennessee. The name for the Greek word kolos, which means circle, the KKK became America's first domestic terrorist group and was devoted to white supremacy and in ending Reconstruction in the South. The Klan's first leader, called a Grand Wizard, was a former Confederate Lieutenant General Nathan Bedford Forrest. During Reconstruction, the KKK's political activity was closely tied to the goals of the Southern Democrats. To support this agenda, the Klan engaged in a campaign of terror, violence, and murder, targeting African Americans as well as whites who supported the Republican parties. Writing in 1935, the black scholar W.E.B. Du Bois described Klan's attacks as armed guerrilla warfare and estimated that between 1866 and mid-1867, the KKK was responsible for 197 murders and 548 aggravated assaults in North and South Carolina alone. Reconstruction-era KKK terror went largely unopposed by local authorities. In 1871, the United States Congress passed the Force Bill, which allowed for prosecution for Klan members in federal court and drastically slowed Klan activity. By the early 1870s, the Klan had all but disappeared. The KKKs underwent a massive resurgence in the first few decades of the 20th century, due in large part to the birth of a nation which glorified hate group 19th century activities. In the first half of the 20th century, Klan membership became a core qualification for public office in southern states. Many influential national figures were Klansmen at some point in their lives, including Senator Robert Byrd and former United States Supreme Court Justice Hugo Black. The clans persist today, but an estimate has only 3,000 active members, down from of a higher more of 2 million members in the 1920s. Ugh. Then, also they got the neo-Nazis, neo-Nazi skinheads, the groups. And some of them don't actually go by those terms, but they still practice the same hate and ignorance. Okay, let's get off of this. Alright, now, Black history again. This time we're talking about Kwanzaa. Kwanzaa is an annual celebration of life observed for 7 days from December 26th to January the 1st by people of African descent to honor our heritage. The week-long celebration may include songs, dances, African drums, storytelling, poetry reading, and a large feast on December 31st called a Karamu. A candle on the candle holder, representing one of the 7 principles on which Kwanzaa is found, called the Nizo Sabo, is lit every one of those 7 nights. Each day of Kwanzaa emphasizes a different principle. Through the 7 principles recognized during Kwanzaa, participants honor our heritage as people of African descent who lost a great deal of our heritage through enslavement. There are also 7 symbols associated with Kwanzaa. The principles and symbols reflect the values of African culture and promote community among African Americans. Kwanzaa was created in 1966 by Dr. Malula Karimega, professor and chairman of Black Studies at California State University, Long Beach, as a way to bring African Americans together as a community and help them reconnect with their African roots and heritage. Also, let it be known as the fact that this man actually has 2 PhDs, okay? Just to let y'all know that. As the civil rights movement transitioned into black nationalism in the late 1960s, people such as Karinga, I hope I'm saying that man's right, or should we say it's Dr. Karinga, because he has 2, he does have 2 doctorates. Even have 1 doctorate, okay, but searching for ways to reconnect African Americans with their heritage. Kwanzaa is modeled after the first harvest celebrations in Africa, and the meaning of the name Kwanzaa comes from the Swahili phrase Matunda ya Kwanzaa, which means first fruits of the harvest. Although East African nations were not involved in the transatlantic slave trade, Karinga's decision to use the Swahili term to name the celebration is symbolic of the popularity of Pan-Africanism. Dr. Karinga said his purpose for establishing Kwanzaa was to... I put doctor for part, actually. Okay. Said his purpose for establishing Kwanzaa was to give blacks an alternative to the existing holiday and give blacks an opportunity to celebrate themselves and their history rather than simply intimidate the practice of dominant society. Okay, do you celebrate Kwanzaa? Also, y'all, I found out, because y'all didn't know, I used to do internships at a boys and girls club. And they had like a chapter of Omega, and it was like they had like activities where certain, like, of course, some of the boys attended, and sometimes, they had the activities. I think they came like majority every Wednesday. I don't know if they were there during the summer or not. I was there during the winter months. And they also explained, like, one time they had a session, it was one of the few times they were out where some of the other people, like members, can hear what was going on, and say the workers or volunteers. So, excuse me, y'all. So I remember them also explaining that the principle behind Kwanzaa is, it is not a religion. It's basically an act and celebration. So say if you want to basically still celebrate Christmas and so forth, it's not something that's interactive or something that's inappropriate. If you want, even if you want to celebrate Kwanzaa, Christmas, same time, even if it was quote, quote, forbidden, you know what I mean? You're able to do that, you know what I mean? But it's actually... that's what they were saying too. Like, it was a question that they were asking the young men, the boys, about, a question. They had like a quiz and, ask questions. And so that they were saying as well. So it was pretty interesting little, a little, class, whatever. Okay. So anyway, here's another one, Black history. Okay. Protesters demand pressures and take action against lynching. 1946. That's a little, but they just have people, black people there, are sitting there with signs protesting in front of the White House. Okay, during the 19th century, lynchings of African Americans became increasingly common. One estimate suggests that between 1882 and 1903, 3,307 people were lynched in the United States, with 2,585 of those occurring in the American South. African Americans were lynched for slander, throwing stones, slapping a child, or being troublesome, or just being black, basically, unfortunately. Lynchings employ bloody methods such as hanging, shooting, beating, and burning at the stake, and often involve white mobs, just demonic, overpowering law enforcement officers and militants in order to carry out these extrajudicial killings. Lynchings became so common and flagrant that at a meeting of the American Historical Association on December the 29th, 1900, Harvard professor Albert Burnson Hart recommended that states legalize the practice to maintain public safety and order. While Hart personally opposed lynching, and his suggestions were likely made rhetorically, many predominant figures did defend practice. Benjamin Tillman, who served as the governor of South Carolina and as the United States Senator, wrote of the necessary sending some more N-words to hell, and pleaded that he would willingly lead a mob in lynching a Negro who committed assault upon a white woman. A church leader in Jacksonville, Florida, who wrote that every time Negro criminally assaults or attempts to assault a white woman, he shall be dealt with by a mob law. By the turn of the 20th century, lynching was an entrenched practice that terrorized black communities across the nation. Oh, gosh. Okay, I think we're going to... Is there at least one I wanted to bring up? A little thing, get up there. Now, of course, we know about the legend, Prince, St. Major Argus, so forth. You just, Now, here's a couple facts. It actually is from a page called, Instagram page called Official Celebrity XO. And this is what these say. Prince gave Spike Lee money to film She's Gotta Have It. Wow, I never knew that. Financially provided for Lauryn Hill's children when she went to jail. Covered the cost of Trayvon Martin's funeral. Oh, ain't that something, y'all? Okay, let's see here. Now, today, I wanted to bring up before I leave here, this is from the page Mahogany Books on Instagram. And today, this is the 13th, so I'm going to end it with this. It's Happy Black Love Day, fam. Yes, it's officially February the 13th, and yes, it's a real thing. History. Black Love Day was founded in 1993 by the one and only Sister Kendall, founder director of the African American Holiday Association. BLD is an African-centered alternative to the commercial Valentine's Day with spiritual goals of encouraging black self-love instead of self-hatred. Number 2, increase peace to stop violence. And number 3, racial healing. Okay. More about Black Love Day. February 13th is officially Black Love Day. Third, nationally observed African American holiday or Holy Day of Atonement, recollection, celebration, and 24-hour demonstration of Black love. Focus 5 tenets, specific acts of love towards the Creator, for self, and the family within the Black community for each other. Greeting, Naya Akoma, which means get a heart, be patient. So yeah, y'all, we're going to end it with something positive. Of course, I try to do that with that. Oh, okay, this is a little longer. With the Black Love today. So everybody today, happy day. And happy Black Love Day, so forth. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. I'll be back tomorrow with some more things. I hope you enjoyed it, hubs and loves, and I will see y'all in the next podcast. Okay, take care, y'all. Have a great night.